Matt Burton, welcome to the Family Business Show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
So this is just a series of raw, honest interviews with people who run their own family business, so we can get a sort of through the keyhole of other family businesses around the country. So thank you so much for being here.
Thank
So
you.
why don't you introduce yourself a little bit to the audience and tell us about your family business and what it looked like pre-COVID?
Sure. So my name's Matt, and I'm one of the third generation of Burtons. The Burtons is actually a small group of companies, but our mainstay business is and has been for nearly 40 years, making equipment, medical equipment, primarily for the veterinary sector. So my granddad started doing this in 1981. He had previously been a maintenance engineer, a service engineer for the British Oxygen Company. So he was going into NHS hospitals, particularly servicing anaesthesia equipment. And at the time, there wasn't really a service industry for veterinary equipment, a lot of which was sort of hand-me-downs, old NHS bits of kit. So my granddad used to do bits and pieces for vet practices, and sort of by word of mouth, that got busier and busier. It was actually sort of the second time around of trying to sort of strike out on his own in his own business that my dad decided to join him. They made a success of it, and over time, they're one of the only companies around servicing this equipment. They've got enough parts to start making equipment of their own. And so for nearly 40 years now, we've been making anaesthesia equipment, but we manufacture almost anything you could possibly imagine for a vet practice. You go into any vet practice in the UK and you'll find something with our name on it somewhere. So that's mostly what we do.
Amazing. And all manufactured here in the UK, in Kent?
It's not everything. We're always trying to bring things in house, but it's about 2/3 of what we sell in turnover terms is made here in Kent, in Marden, down on Pattendon Lane for anybody who knows Marden. But the vast majority of what we do we make here, and a couple of the other sort of businesses in the group, we're all sort of located on one site. We also do like vehicle conversions for animal handlers, again, all made here, all the cages, lining, things like that. And dog grooming as well. We do dog grooming equipment, which
Amazing.
You probably wouldn't be able to tell from the state of it.
Fantastic. Okay, so tell us a bit about what the business looks like in terms of employees, turnover, and the family members that are involved today.
So today it's my dad at the helm, and my younger sister Eve and I. Eve primarily day to day runs the dog grooming equipment business, but is becoming increasingly involved in the manufacturing side. I head up our marketing as a whole, but to be honest, my sister and I have kind of worked in every different department in the company over the last 10 years. So altogether we're 140 people. There are about 90 that are based here, and the rest are dotted all over the country. We're quite unique in our industry that we have sort of true nationwide coverage, next day emergency support servicing, all of that sort of thing. Group turnover sits at about 16 million pounds, albeit COVID is proving a test for us in those terms.
Okay, so let's come on to that then. No point beating about the bush.
Yeah.
So we are now on the 15th of June. So it's basically been locked down for 3 months, essentially. Everyone was told to shut on the 23rd of March. So can you remember that day and the feelings that you felt as the family member, essentially you and your dad and your sister at the helm, at the cold face of the business, how that felt to you?
It was the 27th of March was one of the weirdest days I've ever had at work by a long shot, which culminated in sort of like thankfully it was sunny, a lunchtime meeting in the car park. We had everybody out in the car park, and the announcement that we were going to temporarily stop manufacturing, which is something I don't think we've done since the day that we started manufacturing. So it was a shock, I suppose, is the only word for it. We did have to sort of temporarily suspend almost everything, except a skeleton staff of about 16 people who were there for sort of emergency response to customers. Because all the way through this, our customers, vets, and we do some human medical and some dental, they were designated key workers effectively. So we had to still be able to support them, particularly from a servicing perspective. But it really, really limited us for a period of time because the confidence wasn't there to continue buying new equipment. So demand died overnight, like I'm sure it did for a great many people.
Mm. And so what was the conversation you had as a family about, okay, how do we move forward and how do we get through this?
I think to begin with, it was a recognition that thanks in a large part to the government's job retention scheme, we did have the possibility of kind of hunkering down and hoping it would all blow over type of thing. So that was the main element of the conversation. It was, thank goodness for that, because we've got the opportunity to temporarily suspend what we do without taking on too much of a cost at the time, and keeping all of our teams still here, still employed. The conversation was always about how long we could continue in that format. And it wasn't really until we got to tail end of last month, beginning of this, that it became apparent that there might be some business out there, and we had to take a leap of faith to bring enough people back to start the machine up again, so to speak. So
that's risk taking, isn't it? It's finance, really. You're bringing back staff from furlough and essentially now paying their wages from the business, hoping that then there's enough business out there to warrant those overheads.
I mean, I think what we were really fortunate in being able to do is, like I say, we're a small group of companies, and we've got one or two of the companies are relatively young by comparison and only carry half a dozen members of staff. So we were able, in some senses, to kind of use the smaller businesses as the test case for whether the picture of demand had changed at all. Because all of the industries that we're in, albeit they're not quite the same, they're all interconnected. We're sort of constantly involved in capital equipment for animal handlers, carers, etc. So there's synergy between them all. And what we did found was with the vehicles conversions company, by bringing the first couple of team members back, just by changing the narrative of the way we were talking to customers to say, we are opening, we are ready for business, that had a massive positive impact on the demand that we didn't realise was there still. And now we're replicating that with the largest part of the business, the sort of the mainstay veterinary equipment business, and it's early days yet, and it will be a slower moving picture on that front, but we're hopeful that we're turning a corner.
Brilliant. Okay, so your role is marketing, really, and that's probably been one of the most crucial roles for any business throughout this. So what is your strategy being there, and what is it going forward?
I think when we were in the sort of mid to end of March, where the pandemic started to affect our customers, we actually found that marketing started being helpful to us. We were actually finding that we were contacting some of our customers because the business that we're in is not everyday purchasing. It's the decisions that people think about for 6 months before they buy a new bit of kit or have a massive practice renovation. And we were getting to sort of towards the end of March, where the impact of this was becoming apparent, and customers were starting to, say, look, not now, just let us ride this out. So we stopped communicating for a long period of time, and then as of a few weeks ago, the approach now is very much one of soft marketing. We're not doing big clearances, big sales, big price reductions, pushy stuff. It's about communicating with our customers, reminding them that we're here, we're open for business, we're here to help, we're changing our business practices to accommodate the new world that we're all emerging into, and just reminding people that we're here. So it's a much softer approach to what we used to, because there is still so much uncertainty out there, and you can put people off by being too pushy.
Absolutely. Okay, so we are on the 15th of June today. So the government has allowed all non-essential shops to open. But what does that mean for manufacturing? How have the guidelines been there, and how has that impacted you?
Well, so there was never actually an instruction to close factories. We were actually very fortunate in the timing, if you can call it that, before the world went mad a couple of months ago, we were in the early stages of moving into a much larger assembly area. Over a period of time, over the sort of next year or so, we're working towards a tripling of our output here. And because of that, we were able to accelerate those plans, which has given us the physical space to continue in line with the guidelines that mean we all have to be 2 meters apart and so on. So the only reason we actually closed manufacturing was because demand died a death, and with thanks to the job retention scheme, we were able to put a temporary pause to what we were doing. But actually, like I said, we've been quite fortunate that we've just been able to roll onto a bigger physical footprint here.
Fantastic. And how have people who have been off on furlough and are coming back, or ones that are still off, what's the attitude been to coming back? Are they dying to get back? Are some people a bit anxious, a bit nervous?
I think there is some anxiety there with some people. At the end of the day, it's a long time. We've got some people here who haven't been into the office or been into a work environment for 10 weeks. That must be nerve-wracking. But I would say the vast majority of people are itching to get back to work. I have spoken to, because we're not fully up and running yet. We're at about 50% capacity. We've still got quite a lot of staff currently on furlough. And speaking to a number of those, fairly regularly. I actually bumped into one of our sales reps on the weekend while I was out, and people are dying to get back, which is really, really nice, and it's been really nice as well, slowly seeing people come back, because there have been days, almost whole weeks actually, where it has just been me, my dad and my sister coming into the office to make sure the grass gets cut and the post gets collected. And as much as it's lovely working with them, it's nice to see some other faces.
I think a lot of people are probably feeling that right now.
Yeah.
As much as I love my family, I need to see someone outside these four walls.
Absolutely. Yeah. I'm sure they'd say the same, if not worse, about me if I weren't listening. So.
Okay, so going forward then, so you're getting there, you're ramping things up, you're at 50% capacity. So what do you foresee being the biggest challenges now for you and for manufacturers in general moving forward over the next few months? Can you hear me?
Sorry, I missed the question there. We had a little freeze for a moment.
That's all right. So can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay. So what do you see being the problems for you and manufacturers in general over the next few months?
So I think on the manufacturing front, the challenges around spacing we're meeting, because actually this has come at the closest thing it could have possibly been to an opportune moment. The biggest challenges for us are going to be the changes in the ways that we interact with customers. In some ways, our industry is quite old-fashioned, in that it's a lot of face-to-face contact with a sales rep and live product demonstration and attending exhibitions, and we're not the most digital industry, and what this has very much done, because now we've got customers who don't want to see their sales rep and don't want to have the live demonstration, is it's making us accelerate our plans that we had already for changing the way we talk to customers. We're trying to do everything that we were going to do over the next 5 years in the next 12 months. So, you know, it's building a bank of video demonstrations. It's accelerating our plans towards maybe a new website. It's all of those sorts of things, but it's those changing customer interactions that are going to be the real challenge now.
Really difficult, really hard, because actually you cannot beat face to face and look in the whites of someone's eyes, and you know, empathy and understanding doesn't really come across so well online. So it's going to be really difficult for any business, isn't it? It's going to be difficult.
Absolutely, but particularly because we have got, and it's a lovely industry full of wonderful people to work in. But in some ways, we are a little bit backwards here. So we'll have our website gets used as sort of like a referral, if you like, but our customers still want to pick up the phone or still want to have the rep. So it's going to make face up some change that we knew were coming, we were planning for, we were starting to implement, but they're going to have to come much quicker now.
Okay, so for someone of your generation, I mean, you and I, similar age, actually now is the time for this digital savvy generation to be able to have a massive impact on a family business.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, we have had some fun as well over the last sort of 10-12 weeks, and trying to teach my dad how to use Skype was one element of that.
I feel your pain, Matt.
quite amusing at times, you know. So yeah, all the way from sort of simple things like that. But you know, we're also very fortunate here that we've got some really fantastic people that are very tech savvy. You know, our IT manager is excellent and is probably been pulling his hair out trying to drag us forward into the 21st century for however long. That, you know, we've got great people to help move us in that direction. So we'll be all right. We will face up to the challenges, but it's just accelerating things.
Brilliant. It's sort of forcing your hand. I think for lots of businesses, it's probably doing exactly the same. Yeah. Okay. So you are the third generation, aren't you? You and your sister Eva, the third generation. So how has this whole thing, and you've been working there quite a while now, but how has this whole thing, what's it sort of giving you as an outlook on being part of a family business?
I think what has been really nice is it's bearing in mind we all work in the same physical location, etc. You know, we all come to the same site almost every day and things like that. What's been really nice is actually having had some time to do some of the sort of forward thinking and the planning with my dad and my sister, you know, outside of the chaos of the day to day. And it does sort of fill you with warm feelings. It makes you feel really fortunate to kind of work with family like that. It has been nice, you know, in spite of the fact the world's been falling apart. There have been some silver linings to it, and that has been one of them.
Fantastic. And what are you particularly excited about moving forward?
I think I'm not even sure how to answer that. There's lots to be excited about here. So, like I say, the challenge of accelerating us into a more digital way of working is exciting in itself. The opportunities and avenues for growth, the sort of greater day-to-day involvement of that strategic planning. There's lots to be excited about here.
Fantastic. And so moving forward, you know, I mean, I've met your dad, and I don't imagine that the R word retire is on his radar at all. But one day, you and or Eve, in some capacity, will be the leader of that family business, whether it's, you know, operationally or the face of the family business. And so, what does that mean to you? And what advice would you give to other people who are perhaps, you know, working their way through the family business?
I think one of the things that we've always tried to do here, sort of under my dad's tutelage, if you want to call it that, is to be a little bit involved in every single part of the company, to kind of know every bit of what goes on in some capacity. So if there's any advice to give, it's to try and do that. You know, don't sort of be aloof and sit over here and kind of run things from afar. You know, get involved, work a little bit in every department. we've always had the opportunity to do that. I don't suppose the R word is really on his mind, but I will just say he is quite enjoying. He's got a little bit of farmland now and keeps sheep and things like that, so that's keeping him busy quite a lot of the time.
Brilliant. Okay, and finally, Matt, then we've got, the UK have got over 4.5 million family businesses, in Scotland and Wales and Ireland, and we've got factories, we've got manufacturing, we've got tech, we've got all sorts of industries rich in family businesses. So what would you say to anyone out there now who has somehow managed to pull their business through this and is now facing, relaunching, restarting their business with their family? Any last words of wisdom?
Well, I don't know about words of wisdom as such, but well done to anybody who is pulling through this incredibly time, and I'm sure it will present many of us with opportunities moving forward. Best of luck to everybody. I'm not sure about words of wisdom, but best of luck to everyone.
Brilliant. Thank you so much for being on the Family Business Show, Matt.
Thank you for having me.
And good luck to you and your dad and Eve and Burtons moving forward. I wish you all the luck in the world.
Thanks.